Welcome to Brush Hammer Dice. Today I'm going to show you some easy steps to pimp your terrain and a painting tutorial on the Frostgrave city ruins from Cromlech. First of all, I'm going to show you some stuff I use in this video to upgrade the terrain a little bit, to make the MDF a little bit more living. I use some cork. I found that on a dollar store in my town. You get it for very less money, so it's pretty cheap stuff. You can use that to form bricks and some stuff falling off from buildings. With some wooden pieces, you get them for a few euros at your dollar store as well. I use some grass tufts from Army Painter, and I will also use some green stuff to put some extra bits or extra flags on that terrain. There's some other grass I will use. This was also from a cheap dollar store. PVA glue, just regular stuff. I mixed that a little bit with water, so 3 parts PVA and 1 part water. I will also use some regular sand. It really doesn't matter what kind of sand, just look that it's a little bit cleaned up. And some small stones I will also use. Regular filler from the craft store, it's always good to use. And some of the leftover spruce from that kit. Take your hobby knife and cut the wooden floor parts so that it looks a little bit more rougher. Also, what you can do is take the walls, or take some walls, drill a hole in it, take a knife, make it look old, make it look broken. You can take some of the leftover spruce you got from the MDF kit to install some planks or some extra window sills so that it looks a little bit more three-dimensional. I also used lolly sticks for some extra planks. I used some wooden bits to glue them on the ground that it looks like fallen bricks from the wall. And also I glued some small stones on it. Actually, you can put all the bricks and all the wooden parts, the planks, the sand, the stone, you can put that stuff everywhere you want. But don't go too far with it. Here I'm cutting out an extra door. And I cut some lines in it with the back of the knife so that it gets a little bit more structure. And I also put some planks on it that it looks like a real door. With a little bit of green stuff you can do a lot of cool things, like this flag for example. Just knead the green stuff in your hands till it becomes really green and use a lot of water for that. You can pull the green stuff and push it together and then pull it again out till it becomes something like a flag. Filler is really great stuff to work with, and on that I'm using the filler to put a little bit more structure to the walls. You can use your fingers by that or some tools. It actually doesn't really matter what you use. Right now it looks very messy, but when it's colored or when it's primed, it looks like really cool structure. Here we're using some Steineffektpaste, that is German for stone effect paste. It's just a colored paste with some sand in it. You can get this from a craft store as well. After you're done all that, you're ready to prime. I primed the ground floor in a gray tone and the upper floor in a brown tone. We start with Sundry Dust from Citadel as well with Ushabti Bone. So we start with Sundry Dust, and here you just dab the paint on it. Don't use your brush as usual, just dab it. It gives more structure. You don't have to be that carefully in that step because we're going over it with another brown tone, so you can correct that. You can do this pretty fast. Then I use the Ushabti Bone color to put a little bit more highlight on it, but you only use that on the upper 50%. You see, by using that dabbing technique, you get much more structure in it. It looks way more realistic. You will see at the end of the video how all comes together. For the wooden parts I used Citadel's Rhinox hide. But Eric, what if I don't have Rhinox hide in my house? That's no problem. You can use any kind of brown paint you would like to use. Then I used a 50-50 mix made of contrast medium and contrast wildwood on the wooden floor. For the wooden parts on the ground floor, I also used Rhinox hide. Or any other brown color you would like to use. Exactly. Then I used Citadel's Sundry Dust to paint some of the stones of the ground floor, because no building is just in one color. You will want to use some different paints which are in the nature as well, like brown tones, ochre tones or some green tones. After we wash the building, it all blends together. As a wash, I used black wash with brown wash in a 50-50 mix with water. And then you put it all over the building. You can go really messy with that. If there's some kind of pouring in some edges, you can take a paper towel and wipe it off. But even if there is a lot of liquid or wash in the corners and the edges, that doesn't matter, because it is a ruin, and in a ruin there is water. When it rains, the water runs down the walls and it will be in all the recesses. Now we are going to dry brush the building. For that I'm using Citadel's Sundry Dust again. If you like to watch a good guide on how to use makeup brushes for dry brushing, go and check out Tabletop Minions. Uncle Adam will tell you how it works. With that dry brush you go slightly all over the building. After I dry brushed the whole building with Sundry Dust, I used some Paxetti White, but only slightly on some of the spots that are a little bit higher on the sharp edges and in the middle of the room. It's usually much brighter on the floor in the middle in the room, like on the top of the walls. Now we're going to use some cheap black craft paint to paint the burnt effect on the building. You don't use that on your wet palette, just use the color pretty dry and dab it on all over the spots on the building where the fire took its tribute. On the higher points you want to go on a deep black tone, and the lower you get on the top of floor of the building, you will go a little bit lighter with that black. You can also put some little spots here and there with the black paint where you want to have a little bit more of the grim. Now we're going to dry brush again with Sundry Dust all over the upper floor. Here again I dry brush the middle of the walkways a little bit more heavier. Then I used Agrox Earthshade from Citadel, but you can use any brown wash for that. Just put a bottom line on the very end of the building and also paint the inner edges of that. Then I mixed green and a brown tone together, 50-50 mix, and just put it on some spots on the wall where I wanted to simulate running down water. When we're done with that, we're coming to the final step, the vegetation, which I highly recommend to do. I'm using Ponal Express Holzleim for that, which is just regular PVA glue. I usually water this a little bit down that you can use it a little bit better. I'm using a little bit often in this video. Put down some tufts here and there where you want to use it. I love using grass tufts and moss on the buildings, as well as run down water from the walls. It gives the whole building a much cooler look, and it even looks more realistic than without. And bam! We're done with it. Just give it a quick coat with some varnish. I used satin varnish on that, and we're done with it. I really like how it turned all out, and it is satisfying to see what you can do with even a very flat MDF terrain. But anyway, in this case I paid about 40 euros for the whole city ruins terrain from Frostgrave, which is a very good price for such a big scenery. We used that last weekend on our D&D campaign for a scattered village, and it was awesome. I really liked how you could play on all that terrain. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like and share this tutorial. And if you want to see more content coming in the future, please subscribe to the channel. I would highly appreciate that. So take care and see you soon. Bye bye.